What drives someone to move abroad to start a second glamping business in a country where she doesn't even speak the language, and yet still is able to dedicate time to support GlampAid, a charity helping refugees in this industry? Well, it might not be quite what you think. Welcome to the Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals, Episode 12. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is the Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Sarah Riley, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you here listening to my interview today. Today I'm speaking to Kerry Roy, who is the owner of Camp Couture. She is also a very astute businesswoman, and she has taken on quite a life-changing decision, one that finds her now in another country, not speaking the language yet. She's got all the challenges that comes from that shift, and she's learning the language, obviously. She's buying land, she's managing the in-country regulations and all the other things that being in a different country, starting a new business can throw at her. And yet she is still able to find the time and the energy to dedicate to a not-for-profit charitable trust called GlampAid. Now, GlampAid is in this industry. It is helping to bring a smile to those in need, and specifically refugees. And how it does this is by making a connection between those businesses in the glamping industry that have unwanted items such as bedding, beds, tents, things like that, which refugees could really use. And so it helps to bring these two communities together. Now, Kerry has an amazing story, and I was particularly intrigued about what actually drove her, what actually encouraged her to make this life-changing decision. All the links for this interview are in the show notes, which you can find over on inspiredcamping.com/012, as this is episode 12. Now, I sincerely hope you enjoy this interview. I certainly enjoyed speaking to Kerry, and I'm looking forward to hearing your comments over on Inspired Camping or in the Facebook group, which is the place where you can find Kerry hanging out when she's not busy running her business or learning her new language. So enjoy the interview. Hi, Kerry. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's really lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
No problem. Thanks, Sarah, for allowing me to.
That's all right. That's great. And I understand you're on a really big adventure at the moment over in Italy. And so, but before we go into that, how about we just hear a little bit about you, what you do and your business, and just a little bit of your history, really.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can say it's definitely an adventure. It's probably the biggest challenge that I've given myself so far, but I seem to like a challenge. So I already have an existing glamping site in the UK, which I've now had for several years. We started the ball rolling on that in 2012. And had it open in 2013, which is Camp Couture, based in North Yorkshire. So, over the course of the 7 years, we've grown that organically from 8 accommodation units to now 17, which has a huge mixture of glamping accommodation, from safari tents, teepees, hobbit pods, geodomes, unidomes, and the 360 clear dome, which we're still one of the only ones in the UK to have. Is very good for us. And then we've also recently, last year, did a self-build, which was 70% upcycled. So we just used pallets, we sourced materials, tiles, wood, doors, anything, windows, anything we could really from friends, family, and your local buy-sell sites to upcycle, which was a big challenge for my guy Dave, who works with me. But luckily he's very good, and he gets my vision. I just tell him, this is what I kind of want, this is my plan in my head, and we seem to work together with that. Unfortunately, I don't have the skills to build it myself. So we want to, in future in England, go a little bit more down that route now and use more sustainable products rather than just the whole canvas, because obviously longevity, it's better, and the glamping market is becoming more luxurious. So offering luxurious but also with some quirky feel to it, I think, is what people want, because they want to buy into an experience and not have the standard that they would get at home or in an hotel and a bed and breakfast. Hence the whole glamping is growing, and also that we have a great site which is a mixture of meadowland, woodland, so they really get the back to nature outdoor feel, and it's a huge 250 acre estate, so they can bring the bikes, they've got lots of walking, we allow campfires, so it's all about that switching off, rekindling and reconnecting. And we don't have any electricity, and we don't have any Wi-Fi. We do in our main office, which is about a 10-minute walk from the site itself, but actually in the glamping area we're still off-grid. And there was a point where we did look at potentially getting electricity, because now with the growth of glamping there are more sites with electricity. However, for us, we are finding that it's becoming more of our USP, that when people do come, they leave and say they prefer the fact that they didn't have any connection, because it made them switch off, especially the children. I'm sure a lot of glamping site owners have seen it when the teenagers turn up and they go into a frenzy because they don't know how to play anymore, and what do? They're bored. What can they do without the technology? And we've seen many that the next day are running around like 2-year-olds again, or 3-year-olds should say, that are just getting back to nature, their creativity, they're sitting playing games, they're talking around the campfires, and that is the bit of my business that I absolutely adore. I love to walk around and see that people are actually reconnecting and completely switching off and escaping the reality that we're all in most days. So that's how it is at camp. And we also do weddings. Excuse me, sorry, the wind has got up here. I hear the door banging. We also do weddings, and we do festivals and events as well. And we're currently now going into wellness, because I'm also a trained yoga teacher. So, and I've got a lot of contacts and therapists that are going to work with us to develop more of a back to nature wellness retreat as well, with a huge dome in the woods. And then on top of that, I am also in Italy, so I split myself in two a lot of the time. Thankfully, I have a fantastic team in the UK who help now to run Camp Couture. For me, I was told once by an entrepreneur, get all the right people in the right places who have got skills better than you in some areas. And for me, that's worked well. You can't do everything yourself, not if you're wanting to grow and develop. So fortunately, I've been lucky that I do have a good team that are very passionate, and they love where they work. Well, why wouldn't they? They're outdoors, it's that industry. It's great. And so I am now using that to my advantage to now be able to develop in Italy. Italy wasn't necessarily our first choice all along. It was a case of my passion is traveling, so we obviously open in the summer, and each winter I do tend to then use winter to go traveling around the world and backpacking. And the plan was to just ride our camper vans around Europe and decide where we want to buy. And one of the main reasons is because the land that we have in the UK is actually rented. So we didn't have the capital to begin with to buy the land and then go through all the planning permissions and the red tape that we also have in England. And at the time, the guy who owns the Camp Hill estate, which we're on, he wanted some accommodation, but he didn't want to do it all himself. So I got in there at the right time and just fell through the door. However, the location is great and it benefits us a lot, and we've developed a good, successful business out of it, but it's not my land and it's not my property, although the business is mine. So I always said within 3 to 5 years of opening Camp Couture, the next step would then be to buy our own property with our own land and develop a smaller glamping site on that, just to secure future, and also you're not having to pay as high land rental fees like we do currently. So this is the reason why it was a part of going abroad, and also we wanted to experience being abroad. And we actually saw this region, which we'd never heard of, Abruzzo, on the programme A Place in the Sun, because we knew we wanted to be near the mountains and the beach, because we love our outdoor activities all winter and any outdoor adventure sports. And we came out, we visited 5 times within the first year, looking at, I think, probably 28 properties in total. And then we stumbled upon an old equestrian, which was a horse riding school, training school with, I think in total we've got 20 stables, so stable rooms, there's 2 stable blocks, 10 acres of land, restaurant, bar, and an apartment above the restaurant in a good central location. So it's 30 minutes from the beach and we're 1 hour from the mountains to all the ski resorts and the lakes. So this was, and it already had, thankfully, it already had the agriturismo status, which allows you, the next planning permission to do camping or bed and breakfast and do accommodation and grow your own food and have a restaurant, etc. So it was kind of the perfect setup, and it was a few steps forward rather than just buying a piece of land and having to go through the whole system to just get your agriturismo license that permits it. And then, so we came out here, me and my partner, but unfortunately, sadly, after 4 months, we did separate after a 16-year relationship. We're still very amicable. So I'm now going alone. So I did have a year in limbo. Do I stay? Do I go to Spain? Do I go to France? Do I change the whole thing? But the problem is it could take, several years to sell this property. They don't sell quickly. So I just decided this is what I came out to do originally. I've just got to crack on with it now. So it's been a challenge,
wow,
mainly from a DIY point of view, because, having a man around, it does help when it comes to doing I've had to reinstall the whole apartment. I was living in the restaurant for a year because the upstairs was just not habitable. It was quite disgusting. So I've thankfully to friends and family when they've come over that have all helped to get the hand in. And when there's only one of you, obviously the budget becomes half. So the budget is half of what, again, we'd originally planned when we were doing it together. So yeah, it's tough, but it's interesting. I feel like anybody can do it if you put your mind to it. And for me, it's a learning curve. This morning actually we've had to currently stall work just this morning before you called, because I had a fourth geometry, which is like their surveyors around, telling us that we needed to hold off doing some of the work, the posts in the ground. So I have staff over from the UK, and I've got some of the Italian workers here. And now this morning I've been told that we need to look at changing situation again.
Oh, wow, that's challenging. So how are you pulling yourself through all of that? Because that sounds like an incredible challenge, and the word that comes to mind is that you're being so brave.
I think brave or stupid, and I think a bit of both. I think anything's possible. I mean, there's hurdles along the way. Even you only have to read about people's experience in the UK that sometimes people just can't, they struggle with certain planning and whatever you are. I mean, there's challenges doing this anywhere, but obviously when you're in a foreign country, and especially Italy, the bureaucracy just does not make sense sometimes. In England, we have a way of, you just get to the point and do it. Here, they send you around in circles and send themselves around in circles before you get to what you need to do. And also the language is frustrating. So when we moved here, we didn't know anybody. And the first year we just had a lot of family and friends visiting from the UK. So it didn't give us time to meet anyone. And then I knew that for me to make this happen, I have to push myself out there, and I have to try and meet people and get into the community, because that's where you learn a lot of how others have, with building work, who they've used and the contacts. And just by going on to the expat forums, like you have your membership for the glamping, I joined a lot of the expat forums for Italy, for this region, and you can just ask anybody advice, and that's how I found that I started to connect with people. And thankfully, I've met a lovely couple, Jennifer and Stuart, which happen to live about 5 kilometres from me, and they're actually from sort of Yorkshire, Lancashire way. And they speak fluent Italian, and they have been absolute diamonds in just helping me, because I've also got a 350 olive grove, which was just left and unused, and because I didn't know who to go to, I couldn't communicate with the local farmers to say I need somebody to come and help me and produce the oil. So they actually, we met by them helping me find people that they'd use to then come and produce, cut all the olives and do all the olive farming, which was done in October. And since then, we've just become good friends, and I've been here this morning actually as well, helping. So it's things like that. I try to do everything myself, but you can't, and you have to accept help. That's what, it makes it easier. Sometimes I do take myself down a difficult route, because I feel like I don't want to be constantly pestering people and trying to get people to help me. And I don't like to disturb people, but actually sometimes, if they're willing to, it's easier than trying to send myself constantly around in circles and bang my head against a wall and delay the whole process. And I've been very fortunate. The people I've met, and a few Italian friends who, again, have introduced me to some good builders. I mean, initially there was a few people I've met who, they did want to overprice me, which I just, it was crazy. I wouldn't have been able to afford to do the project if I just stuck to going to the first people that I met. But you just have to, you've got to just have your wits about you. And I've got quite a good instinct, thankfully, and a good sixth sense. So I usually tend to know if I'm going to get screwed over. I mean, I can't promise that all the time, but I try to do my homework and my research, and not go to the first one, and sort of suss it out a little bit first.
So you learning the language now?
I am, yeah, slowly. slowly. So I listen to audio if I'm working. If I'm on my laptop, I'll have YouTube on in the background, just listening and picking it up. And I've started doing private lessons. And also I'm joining the language school here, which is free, like an adult learning. However, it's just fully booked at the moment. So I'm just continuing with my private lessons and just surrounding myself with some Italian sometimes. But you can get the Italians are great. They don't speak much English, but that's where it can be isolating. I tend to go off on treks and skiing with some of them sometimes, and it's fine until I sit around the table and they all speak fast, and it's at that point where I sit there quietly and feel like a vegetable at the end of the table, and you can't express who you are, you can't express your personality. It's quite frustrating that then it's that big barrier, and that's times when I just want to curl up in a ball, pack up, get on a plane and come back home.
Yeah. I kind of really relate to it, because I lived in Greece for 2 years, and
Okay.
I had a similar thing there, that I knew kind of enough to be able to get by, but I didn't know enough to be able to express myself emotionally and my personality and to make jokes. That's the thing. You're good at a language,
Exactly.
you can make a joke.
Yeah. It is, and it's a big part of having humour and fun, and trying. It's the difficulty.
Yeah, but many people in the UK, they talk about wanting to do what you're doing because it's land here is so expensive, and you got around that in the UK by renting the land for Camp Couture, but you decided to move countries to seek a different life, and that's so many people talk about that. And do you have any advice for people who may be listening to this now and are thinking, oh, that's amazing, I'd love to do that? Do you have anything you'd say to them to help them succeed?
I think the big thing for me is people want to do it, but it's like anything in life, it's the fear. They fear that everything they'll fail. To me, I don't fear failure. If I fail, it's a learning curve. There's many successful business people in the world that have made it and then failed, and then they pick themselves up again. And I think if you allow fear then to get in your way, you're never going to do anything that you really desire to in life or what sets your soul on fire. I'm just one of these people that I don't want to lay on my deathbed looking back saying, I wish I did this and I wish I did that. At least I will look back and say, well, at least I tried. Even if I fail, at least I've tried. And I think to move abroad, it is a big step. And I'm fortunate I don't have children. I had a long-term, good, fantastic relationship. Just sadly, we fell out of love. But we were free, so we were free spirits, and we were in a good position to be able to go anywhere and do what we're doing or what I'm doing now. But you just need to do your research before, obviously, when it comes to taxations and the bureaucracy, which here can be difficult. And a lot of people would, I'd say, definitely join. If you know a country that you're moving to or you've got an area, is join any expat forum or any websites. Follow blogs, follow information, which there's a lot of expats in all countries are always on hand to offer advice to, and choosing a good location. And you've just got to put trust. I tell you what I would actually say, if I was to do this again, we just to be safe and cautious, we went straight to estate agents to buy the property. Since buying the property, when I went through my separation, I did look at potentially moving to a different property because I was in limbo, and I learned how a lot of Dutch and English that live here actually bought their properties just by driving around, because there's so many properties that are much cheaper that are on the market, but they're not listed with estate agents. And it's amazing how many people I've met that have done this in Spain, in Slovenia, in France. They've just seen a sign on the end of the road, and then they've gone and asked, or they've seen a derelict building, and they've gone and asked the neighbour, does anybody own this property? And often it's a grandparent that's died and it's been left to the family, but they're not interested in living out in the country. So it just sits there, and that is where you could actually get a real good deal, and then just get a geometer rather than having to pay estate agent fees. So that was quite an eye-opener, which I would probably look at doing that if I was to do it in a different country in the future again, because there's obviously no stopping me. Now I'm even thinking about the future of another country. So we get this one out of the way first. But visit at another key thing that we did is we visited in every season. So we actually came here first in November, and when we came here, I just said, I'm not sure, it just feels dead. It's a bit, there was hardly anybody around. It was cold because it is near mountains and ski resorts. But actually, we then came back in spring, we came back in summer, and we came back just before, I think it was the autumn time. And to see the difference in the seasons was great, because that's what then it drew to me. But just to go in a winter and only go once, you'll probably be disappointed. But you need to visit a town or an area every season to just see the difference of what there is to offer, to see if it's good for you. And the benefit of here as well, actually glamping hasn't really hit Italy yet. There's a couple of yurts in the region which are doing well. I do tend to track all of their booking systems and see and do my competitor research, but there's not a lot compared to the likes of Spain, France, and obviously the UK. And I think it will come. It definitely will come, but it's just going to take time. And I think a lot of people, again, for Italy, are quite aware of how difficult the bureaucracy can be. But there's ways around it. You just have to be patient. And you just have to keep pushing, and you've just got to be brave and put yourself out there, which is what I'm trying to do, even though you do lose your confidence at times.
Yeah. What are you going to call your new site when it's finished?
Well, I was deciding this, and actually because it was a restaurant and a school, a horse riding school before, there's already signs, all like tourist signs on the road. And it's called the Colla San Desiderio, which actually means Circle of Desire. And because we're having geodomes and we're offering retreats and we're doing adventure activities, we thought we'd just stick to the name, and thought Circle of Desire is quite nice because there's a whole mix of activities that can be done here, and you could just drive around the region in a circle, and there'll be something to, whether it's mountains, lakes, kite surfing, skiing, there's something to do everywhere. So I think I'm just going to stick to that.
That's amazing. It's almost like it was supposed to be, that it was meant to be. That really is, the fact that you're using domes and everything that you're looking at regarding your retreats, and that name seems like a perfect fit.
It does, and I didn't even know that it was that when we first moved here. I had no idea, and then I thought, if I just translate what it means. So I thought, yeah, it's perfect. So hopefully it is meant to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you've got an awful lot on your plate. You are really, I saw as well, because you're in my Facebook group, I saw that you have adopted a lovely little dog as well.
Oh, I have, yeah, and I think she was definitely meant to be. So that was the last thing that I said I would take on, especially with sort of back and forth to England. I'm here more, so I'm here sort of 80% of the time now. But and she was there. There's unfortunately quite a few abandoned dogs, so I could have taken any abandoned dog on, and she is absolutely perfect for me. As soon as she got to the property, she runs around the land, but it's strange, she just sticks to the perimeter, though she knows. And yeah, I don't need to walk, I don't need to give her any training. She's ideal. So she's now part of the team. This is her space.
Oh, what's her name?
Well, she's had 10 names, and then I just kept saying ciao Bella, so she's now called Bella.
Oh, she's very sweet. I love seeing her pictures, and
lovely.
And just lovely company for you as well, I imagine.
It is, yeah, and I love dogs. I have a dog in the UK, so I allowed my partner to, at the time, he kept our pooch in the UK, who is the master of Camp Couture, so he still comes to stay with me when I'm in the UK. So I think it was meant to be. I think it was definitely fate with her. And we actually took her to the vet the other day, and she had a chip in her, and I thought I must have to give her back. But strangely enough, the chip had no address on it. So the commune had said that I can keep her, which was a good thing. So yeah, it is good. And from a state, because on a night sometimes when I haven't got any visitors here, it is, sometimes you do feel a little bit, okay, it's nice to probably have an animal around just for that safety factor as well. But I'm quite close to neighbours. I never want to be too isolated, and I'm still near civilized. I'm 3 kilometres from the town, which has got butchers, lots of bars, restaurants, your bakeries, all of your fresh fruit and veg markets. So it's perfect for when guests come and stay. They can even cycle or just drive up to the local town and get all the supplies that they need, whilst having an aperitif, of course.
So I have to ask you, what is your view on Brexit? You don't have to get political. Are you concerned about it?
Not necessarily. What we hear here is once you're in the country, and I've just recently got my residency for here, then you're safer, basically. Nobody's going to get kicked out anyway, but I think after Brexit, that's when people have to possibly look at getting visas and whatnot. But we have a lot of, there's quite a few Chinese and Americans, there's a lot of Americans that live in Italy, and it's still simple despite the bureaucracy for them to move here, as long as they get the visa, and they can prove that they're making a living. And there's a lot of Americans that have actually got bed and breakfast here. So I think that will just be the same for the English. It's just things like recently we've been told that, now we have to have our cars registered here, whereas before you didn't have to. So it's little extra costs that I think people are fearing that might creep in, that they could probably reap an advantage for against the Brits when we move abroad. And to be honest, with Brexit, I used to follow it a lot. I've just got to a point now, I'm quite ignorant to it until there's actually a decision. It's a lot of it's media hype, and I switched off from it because sometimes you can allow it to, again, overtake what you really want to do, and it can make you more fearful. And until whatever happens, it will happen. But I'm just continuing, getting on with my own life and doing what I've planned out to do at the moment. What will be, will be.
Yeah, absolutely. You're definitely resonating with a lot of listeners there with what you're saying. Absolutely. But you have loads of things on your plate and you are doing all of this work, and yet that's not stopping you from actually doing something for the good of more than just yourself and your business. So you have set up with a number of other people, helped to set up something that is called Glampade. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, and I need more time on this as well, which I was actually the other day I must give myself more time to start focusing as well on Glamping, because the last few months I feel like it's just been on the back burner due to obvious reasons. So I thought for a while that, it was about 3 years ago, and we were just clearing stuff out and selling our bell tents, because we always change our bell tents with them being cost effective every year. And there's always bedding or old soft furnishings and our bell tents that we basically sell or just take to the charity shop. And I thought it'd be great if there was something in the glamping industry, because obviously there must be so many others that have unwanted equipment and stock at the end of the year that they need to renew. So it'd be great if we could collaborate within the industry to get all of these unwanted treasures together and distribute them out to homeless, to people that need them. But at the time, it was just an idea. I didn't know how on earth I'd get the distribution channels, especially getting them to foreign countries. And it was actually when I was sat with Steph of the Glamping magazine, and we was out for dinner one night, and I said to her, and she was like, "Wow, great idea, let's do it." So we decided to collaborate, and I'm trying to push and need to do more of the Facebook and getting the distribution of everything, while Steph is helping to advertise it. So it's actually me and Steph that are doing the Glampade, and the whole purpose of it is we want to try and raise awareness for anybody who can donate anything that they have, especially at the end of the season, whether it's kitchen equipment, electronics, bedding, anything really that is usable that we could then give to the charity which we've partnered up with, which is actually called Aid Box UK. and they're based in Bristol. So Steph found this company who actually have all the rights at Glastonbury to take all of the tents. I mean, there's thousands of tents just left at Glastonbury and sleeping bags. So they have all of the collection rights to take all of this equipment, and then they distribute it. They've got various other charities that they work with that distribute it overseas to a lot of the refugees and also to a lot of the homeless in the UK, and work with a lot of the other homeless organisations in the UK. So for Glampade, it felt like the perfect partnership. And Imogen, who is the owner of the charity, and she has a great team of all volunteers, we went down to meet her, and they have this community hub. And it's so well organised. It's just brilliant. They have everything stacked, clothes, shoes. It's almost just like going to a department store, that everything is there for people who need to come and take things as they wish. And even with the electricals, they pack test everything, and they don't send anything out that would be dangerous. And they've also got a community for mainly the women. A lot of the women who are refugees tend to come and use it as a sociable area, who can do workshops, do crafting, or just sit and have a coffee and have a chat, because there's a lot of refugees that, especially women, that are coming over with children, and they've had a tough life, and they've been probably beaten, raped, things beyond belief really that we see on the news. And they've got a lot of psychological problems, and obviously don't know the language, and they feel isolated. So it's, again, she's not only giving products, but they're trying to help with the psychological mental health side to get people back into a better situation. So it's a great charity that we really felt we could work with Glampade.
It sounds like the most amazing charity, and also the fact that you're endeavouring to add to that by everything you're offering to collect from the glamping industry. So if someone is now listening to this, how do they get involved, and what kind of things should they be thinking of that they could pass on that they may otherwise be either selling or throwing away? Can you give some examples of what people could do, what they could send, and where they could send it?
Yeah, so we are currently, I've got a list together, and I'm currently in the next few, I'm just waiting for a widget link, which Steve at the Glamping Design, who does a lot of the glamping websites, is kindly doing for us for free as part of Glampade. So we're looking mainly is equipment, unwanted equipment. So it needs to be anything, whether it's like cutlery, cookingware, anything that you would use in a household. And then for the refugees who, may be in shared accommodation and just want their own items. And then obviously for the homeless, any sleeping bags, any bedding, just sheets, old soft furnishings, fleece blankets, anything like that really that comes in useful. Or if people want to send any kind of hamper, even we get a lot of lost property. So usually I'll take the lost property to the charity shop, whereas now the lost property will go to Glampade. So if anybody else has lost property, again, that's always useful, because it's usually scarf, coats, or a bit of everything. And on top of that, on top of any unwanted items, we will be sending an email out to as many glamping sites. I've collated a list before Christmas to bombard you all if you're listening. So we'll be just asking people if they would kindly want to add our Glampade logo with the widget link, which can then lead customers to a fundraising page. So it'll just be a case of, would you like to, donate a percentage to the industry charity? Again, if the glamping sites would be willing to maybe donate £1 per booking to the charity, or some kind of profitable donation at the end of the year, because they always need funding, like any charities. It's funding that they can spread more when it comes to the community for the mental health side that they're trying to do. And when they've got people out on the streets just going and talking to a lot of the homeless and trying to get them in that sense. And the charity is actually looking to create a space which is eco-friendly, which is involving either any kind of canvas tent or a yurt. They keep asking us for a yurt, but it's quite an expensive item to get at the moment. So that they could use this as a community space, again, for therapy, for the mental health side, but also use it for doing crafts and workshops and anything, again, that helps people that are in, dire straits, really, just become a little bit happier if they can and start to move forward in life. And then then we'd like to try and put together one big challenge a year if anybody was interested in joining it. But we thought it'd be good challenge of maybe, doing a mountain hike or coast to coast cycle. So it's a good challenge, a bit of an adventure where we use it to raise money for the glamping charity, the Glamping charity, but to also use it as a bit of a networking event between all of the glamping sites. So if we've got, several site owners that want to come on board and have a good laugh for a few days and push themselves whilst raising money, then it's good for them because they can all post it on the social media to all their guests and advertise it before to their guests and try and raise money even just through charity buckets at the reception desks or within the accommodation, etc. So anything like that's kind of where we're steering it for the next year, which would be a huge help. So to keep following it, we're actually looking at how we can set up the distribution the end of this year. We looked at it for November, but unfortunately due to me being busy with things here, it didn't quite work out in time. But our plan is for November this year is that we plan to have a van that will go around over a course of a week to 2 weeks, depending on how much stock people are donating and where. And we'd either like people, if it's a small amount, they could post it down, or we will have pick-up points around the UK. So we'll go round and we'll say that we're at a service station on this day at this time, if anybody can come and donate products, if they would be willing to help that way, because if not, it's going to take a long time going around a lot of glamping sites in different areas around the UK, actually individually. Could take a while.
Yeah.
So that's how we're trying to work it. And then the charity that we work with, ABC, they do have a few distribution channels, but they don't reach all areas that we possibly need to get to. So that's something that we're working on, how we can best do that, the most cost effective, rather than eating into more money just to get around transporting things. And just for updates, we're looking to not bombard people, but if people would be willing for us to send them a newsletter twice a year, just to keep them updated with what our plans are for the year, and if they want to sign up to join us on an adventure challenge. And also Facebook is where we want more people to follow us on Facebook, so which is just Glampade on Facebook. If anybody would follow us, that would be fantastic, and that's where we'll keep more updates rather than bombarding people into their inbox of emails. And also Steph and the Glamping Show, Steph at the Glamping magazine and the Glamping Show are really on board and doing everything they can to help advertise it, and we'll always be at the Glamping Show as well if anybody wants to come and donate products at the Glamping Show. Or just have a chat or just help in any way would be much appreciated.
Well, I think that's amazing. And all of those links I'm going to include in the show notes for this episode. So if anyone's listening and they want to get any of what Kerry's just talked about there, just go to www.inspiredcamping.com/012, which is the number of this episode 12. So I think that's absolutely amazing. I think it's just so fantastic when we see an industry come together and people come together to support a cause that is so much bigger than us, and where people really need our help. And the benefits are extraordinary. There is actually science behind this, that being part of charities and being part of something that's bigger helps in so many ways, including it helps on a social level, it helps our motivation. On a business level, it's great PR. There's tax deduction benefits there, and it gives us more meaning to our lives. It helps with our health, and it helps with our overall happiness. So it's helping not only the people who receive the charity and the help, but it's also doing good to us as well. And that's why I'm absolutely 100% behind this. And if you need help, you're very welcome. And if you need any help promoting this more, then remember, don't forget us over in the Facebook group, our Glamping Business Facebook group. We'll do some promotional things there around the events and the drop-offs and the pickups that you're organising, so that people know when you're going to be coming by. So just keep doing it, keep doing what you're doing.
Well, it's nice, I think, when you're fortunate, like a lot of us are, to be doing the kind of business that we do, and then still have the home comforts. It's nice to give something back, especially when there is a lot of waste there that can be reused. And it's easy giving it to charities, but sometimes it doesn't always get to where it needs to be, whereas we're quite reassured that this is going to where it needs to be. We've been there, we've seen it, and they do a great job, so we just want to support them. And we've got quite a few people on board so far in the glamping industry that have already offered, and they've got products waiting for us there to collect and help advertise. So anybody else, and then Steph's always willing to give a shout out in the Glamping magazine in return for any assistance, would be brilliant.
Yeah. And so I'm sure that if anybody wants to go and check out Aidbox UK in Bristol, then they'd be able to do that if they wanted to be reassured themselves about that.
Oh, completely. Yeah, it's great. You can go and have a coffee. You could probably do some crocheting, go and help. It's good. So just a real nice, friendly community hub. Even some people just probably just go and sit there and read a book. We've got a little library section. It's good to see how they work it. Yeah, they're definitely professional in what they do. So, and I think when you go and actually visit it, that it makes you all the more inclined to want to push more to help them and get everything out there.
Yeah. And so with everything that's going on, and with everything that's going on for you over there in Italy, and all the plans and all the work that, what's next on your big list of things to do? What's next for you? What's your next steps?
Plan my travels again for winter. I keep saying, how are you coping? Because I didn't travel this winter. I said, I'm struggling. But I call it short-term pain for longer-term gain.
Some people might dispute that being in Italy for the winter is actually a bad thing.
It's cold. It's actually colder here in this part than it is back at home. And my house is freezing. But yeah, because of the snow on the mountains, it's actually freezing temperatures on a night. But no, it's great. I think my plans I kind of plan ahead for 5 years. This will be, I've got a 3-phase development for this. It won't be as big as Camp Couture. It'll only be a small scale, but because I've got the yoga experience as well, and I've got a lot of good contacts around me that are circular in the wellness industry, that we can really push something great for the wellness. And I've collaborated with a few guys here that are the sports enthusiasts for the region, and have good contacts to do all of the adventure sports activities, which have become good friends. So I've got, my focus is just to make this a nice, small, quaint luxury stay for those that are wanting wellness and adventure, or just total relaxation, and continue keeping Camp Couture as it is, but also with the wellness section. And who knows, I think within probably another 3 to 5 years, I'll be wanting to probably put myself into another challenge. My passion is developing the business. It's challenging and it's tough and it's a lot of work, but I thrive on building up a business and getting it to a level where then I've got a good team who can run it. Because then for me, just to run it, I get a little bit bored with that. I'm always looking for new opportunities. I'm always looking for how we can be different to everyone else, or how we can be the first in there. So for me, it's a lot about, keeping an eye on the competitors and the marketing, and just doing what I love, but also having the time and freedom to combine it with, what we enjoy. So for me, it's yoga, fitness, and then my travels, which is I work for my travels.
Yeah.
My travel is passion. My passion is traveling.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, you do. I think you also reap. I find for me, I reap a lot of benefits from it, because you get a lot of inspiration. If you go out there, staying in different countries, I get a lot of my inspiration from my travels. And also sometimes I work better in different environments. I've always said to be stuck in four walls, even with your laptop, sometimes your brain just ends up frying. But just to take myself and even to put my laptop outside in the sun and just work outside with my laptop, it can make such a difference to your energy levels and your focus. And we do have a thing with my staff. I say, if it's a nice day, get yourself and your laptop outside, and they do. And it's little things like that kind of make you focus a little bit better and then make it more enjoyable when Absolutely. You're doing things that you don't.
Yeah.
So that's at the moment I'm just fully focused on here, and just making sure I get this up and running, and then who knows what will be next.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's amazing. I know that people who have been listening in today will feel massively inspired by your story and the challenges you faced, and yet you still keep going with your dream and what you want to do as an outcome. And I think that's just fantastic. And I personally take a lot from that, and I'm sure other people will too. And certainly if they want to get involved in GlampAid as well, remember to go and check out the show notes and follow those links and donate what you can. It's certainly, if you were going to give it to your charity shop, or if you were going to throw it away or sell it for only £1 or £2, then move it on to people who it will make a real difference to their life. And I know that everyone involved in the GlampAid charity will be so grateful.
Yeah, brilliant. We'd love it. We'd muchly appreciate it. Thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome. It's been so great to speak to you today. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and what an inspiration you are. What an inspiration, Kerry.
Thank you. I hope I can inspire others. It makes me happy to know that I'm pushing others as well and inspire them, so that's good.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you take care. Speak to you soon.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye.
Bye. Well, I'm inspired, and I hope you are too, because building a successful business is, it's hard. And so anything we can do to inspire and help each other and do a lot of good along the way is just the best thing to do and to focus on. So thank you so much for your time today. I'm incredibly grateful that you found this podcast and that you're listening. And if you want to be told of when future episodes are released, please subscribe on iTunes. And that's also the place where you can leave a review if you feel you'd like to either tell us what you think or even request a subject in the future. You can find the show notes on inspiredcamping.com/012. And you can also find the Facebook group with the welcome mat out, because we'd love to see you there as a member. It is my firm belief that we rise by lifting others, and that's what I intend to do here and over on my own business website, Inspired Courses. So if you want to get in touch, please don't hesitate. I'd love to hear from you. Take care.